So, Shari, what would you say has been the most dramatic change in the industry in the past 5 years in general, beyond research?
I think the most dramatic change in the industry is the access to all different consumer technologies. Back in the day, when new technologies would be introduced virtually, every consumer would get the same thing. You have 100% television penetration, you have, nearly 90% cable and satellite. But now there are other technologies that have come on the rise, and not everybody is acquiring them. For example, DVRs have been around since the end of the 90s, yet only slightly more than a third of the country even has one. HD TV has not been widely embraced yet. I think there's still, a wait to get for the prices to come down. Similarly, broadband connections are first starting to come into play. There's, you name the mobile device, it's out there, but there's all sorts of different ways consumers can get content, and it's much more fragmented, not just so much by programming choice, but by device in which you can get the programming.
Do you see how agencies will adapt to measuring all of these different services and different platforms?
Well, agencies don't have to be the ones to adapt. The measurement services need to adapt. And because of the push in the industry for Nielsen to move faster, Nielsen is accelerating their measurement plan to measure computer usage, specifically online video, in their live people meter sample, and this has been accelerated, so it should be available by third quarter 2010 to be able to measure video wherever it gets consumed is huge, because the big content providers want to be able to aggregate all of that information into ratings data.
And I probably should have rephrased the previous question to say, is there a methodology or measurement that would be acceptable to the agencies, perhaps beyond Nielsen?
Beyond Nielsen, that's a tough one, because they are the accepted currency. I don't know in the near term if there will be another currency service. What I do think is through initiatives such as CIMM, possibly down the line, there could emerge some type of service or database that could be used for secondary guarantees, or to add more muscle to the currency data that we're already getting. We need a lot of innovation in this business. There's probably so many different avenues to explore, so many different people who are probably coming up with really good ideas, and they just need the financing to have that happen. And of course, Nielsen is also doing a lot more of their R&D to develop additional products and services that could add an additional layer onto the currency. But I don't believe there'll be another currency service in the near term. We need to make our currency better.
Shari, you're involved in many industry committees. CRE, CIMM come to mind, and I'm sure many others. Can you talk a little bit about your role and your company's role in these organizations?
Yes. The beauty of organizations like the Council for Research Excellence and CIMM is that it fosters industry collaboration. And there's just something wonderful about groups of people working together who are putting their business interests aside and trying to further our knowledge in terms of how consumers access content and driving the industry forward. With the pooled resources of money, we are enabled to do things that none of us could afford to do individually. For example, the CRE, which is in fact funded by Nielsen, but we operate independently, we just put forth a $3.5 million piece of research known as the Video Consumer Mapping Study. And it has brought so much knowledge and insight into how consumers go about accessing content. And it's something that none of us could have afforded to do individually. It even afforded insight for the radio advertising business, and they didn't even invest a nickel into putting forth this research. So it was a huge investment. We're still going back and mining the database even further. And it is the first database that I know of that has enabled us to understand how consumers go about accessing content in the context of their daily lives. And the fact that it was media neutral because we measured the consumer instead of the medium, everybody was on the same playing field, and we were really able to see media in context, both in terms of how they go about their daily lives and how media gets used in simultaneously with other media, not necessarily simultaneously, but concurrent with other media. So there was huge learning that we're still continuing to extract. In terms of CIMM, it's also a similar idea. Different organizations representing buying, sales, and the advertising side of the business. We're all pooling together our own money, which gives us a lot more freedom to access and rely on resources that come from all kinds of media companies, researchers, vendors, that we would not be able to tap into individually. So there's another idea of industry collaboration, but in this instance, it's our own dollars, which gives us our own freedom to foster innovation in a lot of different areas.